Hello my fellow golf ball addicts, welcome back to the channel. We are continuing on our Bridgestone line. We've already done the other two that are for under 105, and so now we start with the first one, the XS, which is for over 105 mile per hour. Let's dive right in. Alright guys, so we don't really do sponsorships here at Golf Ball Addict, but if you like this content and you want to support the channel, there's a couple ways you can do it. The first one is make sure you watch it, like it, subscribe it, comment, all that stuff. It really helps the algorithm out a lot, and I would really appreciate it as well. It really helps the channel grow. Also, we do now have a membership that just starts at $1 a month. I mean, just to kind of help the channel out here and there. You can click the join button next to the subscribe button. But yeah, those are the two main ways right now to help it out. It's really appreciated. When it comes to the Bridgestone balls, you know, I didn't have a lot of high expectations. I tested them a couple years ago and I wasn't really super impressed. So this time around, you know, I had a couple people tell me, hey, they've changed the formula, and so far it's been really, really good. The first two golf balls in the under 105 category, the RXS and the RX, were fantastic. They had a really amazing feel is what stands out to me the most. Is the feel is just phenomenal. The way it comes off the club, the way it sounds. It's a fun golf ball to play. It's a fun golf ball to hit. Numbers at times, I mean, numbers aren't perfect, but they were pretty good. They held their head above water for the most part all the way through, which is awesome. That's all I'm looking for. Durability so-so, you know. That's just a quick recap. This one now going into the over 105, I don't know really what to expect. My swing speed's now around usually 97 mile per hour with the driver, but I can get it up to about 100, 101, which is really, really close to what this the requirement is, or what its recommendation is, if you will. So I am interested to see if we do get any better results with this, or if it starts to kind of not compress as well, and if we will kind of lose a little bit. So let's dive in first of all to the price point. So $49.99, we know at this point this is what they are. You know, that's not a terrible price point, but again, $49.99 is a lot of money for a dozen of golf balls, and anytime you have that type of price point on this channel, I have to hold it to a pretty high standard, because we've tested a lot of golf balls this year that are half that price and they perform just as good, if not better. So it's one of those things where I gotta hold it to a really, really high standard, especially now that we're getting into the ball Tiger plays, which I know is now the X this year, but for the past 6 years he's been playing this one. So you know, there's expectations here. You know what I mean? There's a lot of competition every year. There's more golf ball companies, and the bar gets raised, and so, you know, I expect a really, really good performance here. All right, now just to touch on the design real quick. I know we've already touched on this on the first two. The Bridgestone B is really nice. I like it a lot. It does make me think of a tire, because I see it and I go, oh yeah, the tire company. But I mean, it is what it is. The blue number up there indicates that it is a spinning model. If it was a red number, it would be a distance model. Of course, you know, both for under 105 and over 105, they have a model of each, a distance and a spin model. Not every, you know, AAA golf ball company maker does 4 different tour balls. Most of them do 3, like a Pro Soft, a Pro, and a Pro Plus, or a, you know, whatever. Like, they all do this some way of it. Now Strixon's got the Z-Star, the Z-Star 15, and the Z-Star Diamond. You know, they're doing like this 3 thing, the trilogy. They came with a quadrilogy here, so interesting enough, it gives players a little bit different. You know, Bridgestone's really into ball fitting, so it's kind of neat that they are at least trying to make progression in that, and they're trying to make a ball for different people, so I don't mind it. Coming around here looking on the side, you know, the alignment tool, it's a neat little design, but we've already established at this point that it just isn't, like, you can see it there, it's not thick enough to where you can really see your ball roll, but Bridgestone did come out with the Mindset this year, which is what this looks like right here, as you can see. I'll put another picture up here like that as well, just so you can kind of see it. But the idea behind this is that, you know, it's useful for putting. You can put it down and putt with it, but also these 3 rings represent, you know, a 3-step process to get you in the right mindset for golf. You know, long story short, yes, it works. It's not exactly an alignment tool. As far as from an alignment tool standpoint, I really don't like it, but it is nice to kind of get people in that mindset, because the 3 rings here that, you know, are essentially focus on your target, focus on the shot path to the target, and then focus on the ball. That's actually a great way to look at it, but the problem is that I wish they would put this on their intermediate and beginner balls too, because by the time you are good enough to play a ball like this, you pretty much have that figured out, or pretty close to it. So, neat idea. I hope they expand on it. All right, guys, let's get out to the chipping and putting green, and let's see how we do around there.
That was a complete mishit, but it actually forgave me quite a bit. Again, it feels like all the other Bridgestone balls. It's really soft, buttery, has a phenomenal feel. The sound's amazing. I would expect a $50 a dozen golf ball to sound and feel like this. This is really good. Let's see if we can get a good strike here. Yeah, really good spin. Wasn't a pure strike, but as you can see, it had a pretty good reaction. Lots of spin there. Next up, I'll try to hit a little cut. Wow, yeah, that's how I remember the old one being too. I mean, almost stopping on a dime. All right, next up, I'm gonna go ahead and try to get one to go left here just to see if it has any side spin. Yeah, absolutely, a little bit of bass effect, small bass effect, baby bass effect, you know what I mean? Like just kind of coming out of the top of the water. Really good there. I'm gonna go ahead and try to hit a really nasty cut and let's see what kind of spin we can get. Phenomenal. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's how it should be too. You know what I mean? When you're paying this type of money for a golf ball, when you've got, you know, the greatest of all time endorsing you, this is how I would expect a golf ball to react. Awesome. You know, I'm not even mad that I'm short. It had so much stopping power. If you're someone who really values that checkup and you're good enough to play a ball like that, you're gonna really love it. Okay, I've put the red line where I want it. That's me visualizing where my target is. The yellow is now I'm gonna focus on the shot. So yellow, I'm coming in, I'm imagining the path, okay? I think it's gonna go left of the hole, but that's okay. Again, imagining the path. I think it's gonna be about maybe half a foot left of the hole. Then green is just focus on the green. You know, I mean, it worked, you know what I mean? Like, I think the idea of it isn't necessarily to give you an advantage. I don't think that's the idea. I think it's to get your mind right. I definitely think Tiger Woods had a hand in this because Tiger is the best ever at, you know, just his mental focus. You know, he worked so hard even as a child in therapy and, you know, in psychology and all this other stuff that, you know, he wanted to be able to shut off the outside world, and he's one of the best at that. And so I think what this is designed to do is just get your brain right, get you focused on golf. Sometimes you can get out there and hear your friends laughing, joking, or your buddies telling a story. This helps you focus on the golf ball, which helps you be a better golfer. So I think that's the design. So again, I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna focus, first of all, the red line on my path. Coming up. Again, I don't think that's far enough right. I think I'm gonna miss just left of the cup. Still gonna focus on my target. Okay, now I'm gonna focus on yellow, which is the visualization of the line. Yeah, it's definitely going left. And then now green. I actually pushed it. I pushed the heck out of it. Okay, last but not least, same thing. We'll kind of speed it up here. Focus on the path. I think it's gonna be left. Yep, for sure. So I get the idea of it. The idea of it is to just focus your mind. The idea is to get your mind in the right set to hit a golf shot, which there are some people that need that. Some people don't realize that there's a lot to putting. Even your breathing technique is important when putting. A lot of people don't understand that. You know, if you're new to the game and no one tells you this, you come up and you look at it and you just try to hit it the best you can. But the best in the world are controlling their breathing and their putting as soon as they exhale, you know, putt. You know, opposed to, and then putt, it makes a difference because your body's shaking a little bit more when you inhale all that air. So it's designed to kind of get you in that mindset, haha, but I think it does a good job at that. But as far as an alignment tool, it's okay. I definitely prefer, you know, like the stripe or, you know, like a line. I think it does a lot better with that. This is for like a whole, I don't even think it's comparable. I don't think it's fair to compare it and say, oh, this alignment tool compared to a different one. I don't think it is that. Okay, so sorry for the extremely long rant there. That was with, of course, the mallet putter. Now we're going to the blade putter to see how it reacts. As far as the sound feel, it's really good. It was really soft, came off. There's no click, there's no sound. It's very dead. Had a very nice true roll. So now we're gonna test with the blade putter to see. You can usually tell about the roll a little bit better with this. Ooh, okay. Didn't like that as much. It actually felt really heavy coming off. It wasn't loud, it wasn't clicky. It definitely felt still softer, but it was heavy. It really had trouble coming off that putter face. Let me try again. Not a big fan there. It feels a little too dead to me and it feels heavy. So I'm not as big of a fan with the blade putter for sure. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I'm not going to say it's bad because I've tested a lot of golf balls and I've seen ones that are bad. It's just that, you know, I'm out here testing. I just got done testing the Wilson, the staff tour, excuse me. I've got other Bridgestone balls out here, and this one just doesn't have that crisp feel that some of the other ones I've tested have. It's not bad, it's just average.
All right, so feel across all golf clubs. You know, I'm a little disappointed. When we tested the RXS first, you know, it was really a 5 out of 5 perfect feeling golf ball. It was so soft, it was so forgiving. It just felt like spreading butter on a piece of toast every time you hit it. I absolutely loved it. Then we went to the RX, and the softness wasn't quite as there, but it was pretty darn close. But what I loved about it is it had this sound that was so addicting. Every time you hit it right, it had this just little pure sound that was unlike anything I'd ever heard of. And so, you know, those are two different things, but I'm super impressed because you have a perfect, you know, feel score, and then you have a perfect sound score, and you know, I don't see that all the time, especially with tour balls or even lesser tour balls. You know, it stood out to me, and that's what I like. You know, in the competition, like I mentioned earlier, it's nice that a golf ball stands out. This is a step down. Now that the golf ball is firmer, now there's a firmer compression. The pure hit feel, if you will, okay to good. I would say good maybe. You know, it doesn't feel like spreading butter anymore. It's not super soft. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't spring like a rocket off the club. It doesn't really do any of that anymore. It's just kind of okay. You know, it's just kind of average. I mean, I'd probably give it a 3 or a 4 out of 5 based on that. Maybe a 3.5 if I could. I might round it up to a 4. But when it comes to, you know, off-center hits, you know, with the other two off-center hits, it was like I would hit it off the toe a little bit. It would forgive me pretty well. It would still feel really good. It would let me know. It'd pull me to the side. Hey, bud, you kind of mishit that one, but you got this. Pat me on the back. You get the next one. This one's more like, I don't know. Imagine someone who's monotone, who doesn't like show emotion, and you hit it, and they just kind of look at you and stare at you and go, no. Like, that's what it feels like. It's weird. It's not really super punishing per se, but it's not making me feel any better either. I did not have a lot of confidence with this golf ball. The other two, I was hitting them. They were fun. I was having a good time. I was looking at the numbers. I was like, oh man, that's amazing. This one's not the case. This one, there was times I was like, oh crap, you've really got to hit this one in the center. If you don't, it's going to punish you a little bit. Now, forgiveness overall is still pretty decent, as you saw there. It's just okay, you know what I mean? And being okay or being average or even being a little better than average isn't necessarily a bad thing. But after we just came off of like 2 of the best feeling, best sounding golf balls I've ever tested, now to go back and take a step back, it's not exactly how I wanted to start off. But let's get into these numbers. Let's see what we're working with here. Let's start with the 50-yard pitch on the backspin. 6,307, which will not get it done. That's just plain and simple. You know, I ran into the same problem with the Wilson Staff 24, and I mentioned it on there as well. Anytime you have a tour golf ball, especially one like this that is designed as the spin model, it's got to show up. And when I was doing my 50-yard pitch, you know, I noticed after the first 5 or 6, I really wasn't getting a lot of spin, so I opened the face a little. I tried to hit some cuts. I tried multiple things to get this golf ball to spin, and it just doesn't want to do it. It just does not want to spin from 50 yards out. What makes that really disappointing is with the first 2 golf balls, I got 7,451, 7,249, and now we take 1,000 RPM step back with the one that's a tour golf ball. And the only thing I can really think of is that I think it's maybe because of the compression, because it's a little higher compression, and when you're only swinging halfway and doing a 50-yard pitch, you're just not compressing it as much. But that's the only thing I can think of, because that's the only excuse to give Bridgestone a pass on this, because otherwise that number's inexcusable. If I'm going to spend $50 a dozen on a golf ball, and it's supposed to be the spinning tour model, rip it back, and then this is what I get, nope, not going to work. So let's hope the other numbers are better. Let's get into the 9-iron now. Looking at a smash factor of 1.34, which is pretty standard to what I've been getting the last couple golf balls. Still a really good number though. 147.1, which is incredible on your distance there. That basically turned it into a 7-iron for me. 148.2, that's awesome. 108.1, amazing ball speed there. But all those numbers are better than the previous 2 I've tested also, the RX and the RXS. But then you look at that spin there, and I got 6,007, which is the lowest of the 3 I've tested so far. And then, yeah, again, we got 20 launch angle, which is pretty good. So they're all consistently launching about the same. And seeing that, I don't really know what to think about that. You know, I've got 3 golf balls here that all launch basically the same. They launch the same. But I've got a spin model that, again, is so far the lowest Bridgestone I've tested for spin. As I mentioned before, got to hold this to a high standard, and having really low spin. Yes, I got amazing distance, but I also got really low spin. I would have loved to have seen, 6,500, 6,600 RPM spin. Actually, I mean, even close to 7,000. I would have loved to have seen 7,000 spin, but take some of that distance off. And unfortunately, that just wasn't the case. The golf ball just doesn't want to spin a lot. Getting into the 7 now, we have a 1.41 on your smash factor, which I have not gotten in a while on a 7 iron. That's actually really, really impressive. Distance-wise, 173.9, which I think is a new record. That's incredible. 177.3, again, really incredible, turning it into a 5 hybrid almost, basically. 119.9 is by far the highest ball speed I've ever seen with a 7 iron. I mean, that's what my 5 hybrid used to be. 4,614, which is really, 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 really low. Yeah, more on that in a second. 16.3, it launched about, up low mid, but mid actually. It launched higher than the other two, so I'm actually impressed with that. Here's the problem with these numbers, okay? I know some of you are going to look at those numbers and go, wow, that's amazing distance, and wow, he broke records. And I was that way also when I first started seeing numbers like this. This year, the last 10 golf balls we've tested, we've seen this come up a couple times. And the first time I saw these numbers like this, my reaction was the same. I was like, man, I'm getting such great distance with it. Yeah, yeah. But now what I'm realizing is it's really easy to get that type of distance when you don't have any spin. If you just take all the spin away from the golf ball and you just make it, 2,000 RPM spin with a 7 iron or whatever, yeah, you can get 200 yards out of a 7 iron because there's no spin. I really want balance. That's what I have found is good in my golf game. I've went out to the course, I've played with these golf balls a little bit, and I'm starting to see my golf ball hit the middle of the green and roll to the back. And I've seen that consistently now with 7 iron, 6 iron, 8, even 8 iron a little bit. And it's specifically on golf balls like this that have just amazing distance scores, but then they don't spin. And so the problem is, yeah, I mean, I'm crushing it. My friends are like, dude, man, you've gained 30 yards with your 7 iron. Yeah, but I'm also now 3 feet on the back of the green and I'm chipping from the fringe. You know what I mean? It's not what I want. I want some spin. And when you have a golf ball that specifically says this is the spinning model, sorry to repeat myself, but it is, and I'm getting the lowest spin I've seen, I don't know, I'm kind of disappointed. 5 hybrid, we're looking at 1.44 on your smash factor, 197.9 on the distance, which I think that's another record. That's just incredible. 204.5, that's incredible. 131.7, just outrageously good. I mean, amazing. And then again, 37.03, one of the lowest spinning golf ball. It's by far the lowest spinning golf ball I've seen this year. I mean, maybe even ever. I just, goodness gracious. 13.2 on your launch angle, which again is very consistent with the other 2 Bridgestone balls I've tested. They're launching consistent. Again, not to beat a dead horse, it's the same thing. Yes, it's awesome we're breaking records. It's awesome this golf ball has a ton of spring and power. But what am I supposed to do with that? You know what I mean? If the green is 220 yards away, sure, I can hit one that carries 205 because then the rollout is just going to roll up on the green. That's fine. But I don't want that. I want to be able to stick a green even with a hybrid. So most of the time with my hybrid, I try to shoot for around 5,000 RPM. And if you look at some of the other golf balls we've tested, the RXS was 4602. The Wilson Boost, which is a 75-cent golf ball from Walmart, did 4730. The Seed was almost 5,000. The Z-Star Divide was 49.43. The Wilson Smart Core was over 5,000. The Wilson Chaos was over 5,000. Like, I have 2-piece Walmart golf balls beating this golf ball in spin. And you might say, oh, well, did it beat it in distance? Pretty close. I mean, again, it's why 2-piece golf balls will just really always be the pinnacle of this channel because they're so underrated. But I have 3 2-piece Walmart golf balls here that have very close to the same distance, but are spinning way more. They're sticking greens way better. I'm not spending $50 on you when I can spend 10. All right, getting into the driver here, 1.43. That's actually a little lower than my average, 233.5, but that's actually a really great number, 242.5. That's the best I've gotten so far with any of the Bridgestones. 145.2, so good ball speed, and then 23.93 on your spin, which is right in line. And then actually it wanted to launch a little higher, so that higher launch I got was actually the main difference of me getting more distance. The other 2 wanted to launch a little lower. One launched at 12, one launched at like 13.3. This one now is over 14, and that's the difference. Even though the smash factor wasn't as good and the ball speed was pretty similar, I was able to get those extra carry yards and extra distance because of that. So driver numbers are pretty decent. I don't have a problem with those at all. All right, let's touch on durability before I give you my final thoughts. You know, the main problem with Bridgestone's durability is, I will admit, this one's a little bit better than the other ones I've seen. There's still some scratches, there's still some cuts. They're all minor there, but the thing is with this dimple pattern, you'll notice that the outside edges where the dimples aren't ends up turning this brown yellow color, and this is after only hitting it for one round. You know what I mean? Over time, these golf balls get really yellow. There's something about them. A lot of you have reached out to the channel and said that also, and have reiterated that and said, yeah, you know, same experience. I don't like that. I don't know what it is or what about it causes that, but basically by the time you're done, you have all these really white, clean dimples, and then you have like this base yellow around it, and it just looks bad. And not to be nitpicky with it, but again, I'm spending a lot of money on this golf ball, and it's like an 8 out of 10. It's really good durability. It probably would be a 9 if it wasn't for the fact that that happened. So that ends up taking a point off of it. But it's still really good, but they really need to get that figured out. So final thoughts. You know, it's hard not to call this a disappointment. I tested the RX and the RXS. They did really well. They did above expectations. They were very solid tour balls. They're probably going to end up in the top 20, top 30, somewhere in there. I don't know 100% at the end of the year, but they will. But I was just really surprised. You know, I enjoyed playing them. I enjoyed reviewing them. They put a smile on my face, which normally is not the case with Bridgestone. But now that we've gone to the over 105 tour line, if you're an average swinger like me, anywhere in the 90s, you know, anywhere in the 90s, let's just say, I have a hard time recommending this one. I haven't tested the X yet, but the lack of spin is just really unacceptable. You know, part of me wondered, is it just me? Was I de-lofting the club too much? But the reality is, if you look at the numbers compared to what I got with other golf balls, it's very similar. You know, it's not really that. It just doesn't want to spin. It didn't spin with the 50-yard pitch. It didn't spin with the 9-iron. It didn't spin with the 5 hybrid. You know, driver, kind of right there in line with all of them. But we have multiple clubs that just don't spin. And the reality is, if I go to a store and I look at $50 a dozen, and I look at the back of the box and it says, you know, just everywhere, spin, 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 spin model, rip it, spin, it's the spinningest model. And then I take it home and I get this, I'm writing a letter. Like, I'm not happy. I'm upset. I have to hold it to a high standard, like I said, and that's what I'm doing, and that spin just is unacceptable. I really expected it to spin more. I also don't like that we took a step back on the feel. You know, it doesn't feel as good anymore. It's not as fun to play anymore. The other two, I was smiling, having a good time, laughing. This one, you know, by the time I got to the 5 hybrid, I was kind of like, man, can this review just be over? Like, it wasn't as fun. Now, is there a possibility that this golf ball could be really good for you if you swing 105 or 110 mile an hour? Sure, absolutely, 100%, it could be. But that's not what I test here, unfortunately. I test for 95 to 100 mile an hour with the driver, and if you're in that range or lower, you are definitely going to want to stick to the RX or the RXS. This one right here, you know, getting less spin, less forgiveness, less feel, less sound, less feedback, or more punishing feedback, I should say. You might say, oh yes, but your distance numbers were incredible. Well, if you're someone who really needs distance, and that's all you care about, you play on a big open course with these giant greens, and you're like, no, I don't really care about the spin, I just want that distance, then sure, yeah, it could work out for you. But if you're playing like any type of local course, or, you know, a really tight, shorter course, this probably won't get it done. I think every green you're just going to roll to the back. I just couldn't get any spin with it. I just couldn't, and that's a problem. So overall, you know, I know I'm making it sound like a bad golf ball. It's not a bad golf ball. I'm sure there's a market for it. It just kind of reminds me of the old Bridgestone model that I tested. You know, it's not bad, but it's just really not good either. There's not a lot here to take. I think there have been some improvements made. I love how it feels and sounds around the green. I like how it putts. There are some things to build on, but really, I got to have more spin. That's just really what it comes down to. So it is what it is. Guys, we have one more left. It is the X model. That's the one Tiger switched to this year. Let's see if that one's any better. See you in a couple days. Oh, keep watching, keep saving, keep learning. Smash that subscribe button. Love you guys. See you soon.